What happens after we die? It's a question whispered in hospital rooms, in sleepless nights, in quiet moments when life feels heavier than usual. And in 1944, one man, Carl Jung, the father of analytical psychology, may have caught a glimpse of the answer. This isn't a story about religion. It's not mysticism dressed in robes or sermons delivered from a pulpit. It's something far more intimate. Something that happened not in theory, but in the space between Jung's last heartbeat and the one that brought him back. That year, Jung suffered a massive heart attack. As doctors worked desperately to stabilize him, he slipped into what we now call a near-death experience, but what Jung described as a profound departure from everything he knew about being human. He didn't just dream or hallucinate. He left. He observed his body from above, saw the doctors working on him, and then, everything changed. Jung described it as peeling away from life, like everything he had once desired, believed, or built simply fell off like an old skin. There were no walls, no floor, no ceiling. No body. Only awareness. Pure, expansive consciousness. He called it the void of creation. But not the cold, empty void we fear. No, this space pulsed with something unnameable. A knowing. Not thoughts, but truths. Not language, but understanding. He was not alone. He felt other presences, beings, souls, consciousnesses, who knew him. And somehow, he knew them. Jung didn't write about this with drama or the need to convince. In fact, he often hesitated to share it at all. But when he did, he spoke quietly, reverently, like a man who had touched the edge of something we've all felt but never seen. In that space, there was no judgment. No voice booming from the clouds. Just a review. A remembering. He saw his life not through his own eyes, but through the hearts of others. Every word he'd spoken, every silence he had left unbroken, he felt it. Not as punishment. As realization. I was what I had done, he wrote. I was my life. And here's the most haunting part, he didn't want to return. He said it felt like waking up from a lesser dream, like this life, as beautiful and messy and complex as it is, was somehow less real than what he touched in that place. But he came back. Not to preach. Not to scare. But to remind. To remind us that we are more than what we do. That there is a part of us untouched by time or pain or fear. That death is not the end, but a shift. A transition. And maybe even a return. So if you've ever felt like something in you knows more than this moment, if you've ever stared into the sky and felt strangely at home, you're not imagining it. As Jung said, we are not human beings having a spiritual experience. We are spiritual beings having a human experience. Stay with me. Because what comes next might just help you remember who you've always been. Let me know if you'd like the next segment in the same tone. What happens when we die? For most of us, that question lingers quietly in the background of our lives, until something, or someone, pulls it to the surface. Carl Jung, one of the deepest minds in the history of psychology, didn't just study the unconscious, he once stepped beyond it. In 1944, after a near-fatal heart attack, Jung reported something few scientists ever dare to explore, an out-of-body journey that would reshape not only his understanding of life, but death itself. Phase 1, the out-of-body awakening. As he lay in a hospital bed, drifting between this world and something far beyond, Jung felt his consciousness rise above his body. He looked down and saw the doctors, the room, the machines, but none of it mattered. Everything I wished for, fell away, he later wrote. It wasn't a dream. It wasn't imagination. It was an awakening. He entered what he called the void of creation, a place without walls, ceiling, or ground. There was no sound, yet knowledge arrived instantly. No thoughts, no speech, only knowing. Phase 2, the meeting of souls. In this vast stillness, Jung wasn't alone. He sensed other presences, conscious beings without faces or forms, but somehow familiar. There was no language between them, just recognition. A kind of homecoming. And within this dimension, understanding wasn't learned. It was. He described it as the sphere of total knowledge. Phase 3, Life Panorama. Then something extraordinary occurred, the life review. But not in the way we've been taught. No judgment. No punishment. It was like watching your entire existence on film, except you feel what everyone else felt because of you. Every word. Every silence. Every kindness, or cruelty. I was my life, Jung said. Nothing was hidden from me. Phase 4, the deep realization. Coming back from that realm wasn't relief. It felt like a loss. Jung described this world as a shell, a limitation. He no longer saw life as a random chain of events. He saw it as a classroom, a temporary stop. We're not residents here, we're travelers. Students. Phase 5, not heaven or hell, just resonance. In that space, souls didn't go to heaven or hell. Instead, they went to where their energy belonged. Some places were calm and still, like a peaceful lake. Others were dynamic, changing, like rushing water. Where each soul arrived depended on their vibration, their inner light. You don't get assigned a place. You return to the one that matches who you are inside. Phase 6, the weight of intentions. Here's the twist, souls didn't carry their actions with them, they carried their intentions. The essence behind what they did. Falsehood was felt as heaviness. Love as lightness. And those who had the courage to grow came back. Not as punishment, but by choice, to heal, to evolve, to love again. And this was just the beginning. Stage 6, what happens to the soul after death? Carl Jung's journey beyond the veil. There's a moment, subtle but deeply sacred, when the soul realizes, this isn't the end. It's a return. Carl Jung, one of the most profound minds in psychology, once described death not as an ending, but as a transition into truth. A homecoming to something we've always known, but forgotten. Let's return to his vision of what happens after we die, and explore what he called the 12 stages of the soul's journey beyond death. Stage 7, reincarnation, not punishment, but an invitation. Jung believed that when a soul chooses to return to life, it's not being punished. It's answering a calling. He described the process not as fate, but as design, like a symphony. Every element is chosen with care, the parents, the environment, the timing, even the challenges. Why? Because the soul desires experience. Not comfort. Not perfection. But evolution. Think about that. What if your struggles were not evidence that life is against you, but signs that your soul is growing? Stage 8, returning to life, knowing but living as if you forgot. Jung often said that the hardest part wasn't dying, it was coming back. He described the soul's return to the body like slipping into a tight garment after having tasted limitless space. The most painful part? Having to live as if you don't know, even though deep inside, you do. We carry the memory of our light, but we live in a world that asks us to forget. And yet, the soul agrees. Because forgetting is part of the lesson. If we remembered everything, there would be no choice, no challenge, no growth. Only knowledge. But forgetting gives us something even more powerful, the opportunity to remember again, through choice. Stage 9, the moment of death, gentle as an exhale. Jung described dying not as a violent rupture, but as a release. Like taking a breath after holding it for far too long. He said, it's not pain. It's peace. The soul floats effortlessly from the body. First, you see your surroundings, your body, the people, the room. But it no longer feels like yours. It's like watching a chapter close in a book you finished. And then, something calls. Not loud, but undeniable. Not blinding, but deeply warm. Stage 10, meeting the beings of light. Jung didn't describe angels with wings or loved ones waiting at the gate. Instead, he spoke of presences, real, radiant, yet without form. You don't see them, but you know them. They don't speak, but they communicate through feeling, pure recognition. And here's what shook Jung to his core: they don't judge you. They show you. Your entire life, played back not in events, but in energy. What you gave. What you took. The intentions behind every action. If you hurt someone, you feel their pain, not to punish you, but to help you understand. If you loved someone, you feel it return, magnified, unfiltered. It's not about guilt. It's about growth. Stage 11, the gray light, where some souls stay behind. Not every soul moves on right away. Jung saw a space he called the gray light. A place between realms. These are souls who hesitate, afraid to let go, not of life, but of their identity. Some fear they'll be forgotten. Others haven't forgiven themselves, or the world. And so, they linger. Not suffering, but not free either. Just, suspended. And here's the lesson: the only thing holding them back, is themselves. Stage 12, the deepest realm, returning to the source. This was Jung's most sacred revelation. Beyond the layers of memory and identity lies something even deeper, a return to the essence. A realm with no names, no forms. Just pure being. What he called the original light. In this space, the soul doesn't think. It simply is. There is no I. There is only presence. And from here, some souls choose to return. Not because they must, but because something within them stirs. A desire to grow, to love again, to discover again. To bring more of that light into form. Jung said, these souls are not sent back. They rise again, by choice. Personal reflection. Now let me ask you something. What if you are here right now, not by accident, but by soul design? What if everything you faced, every heartbreak, every mistake, every triumph, was chosen by a part of you that remembered the light and wanted to bring it into the dark? Jung believed that even our deepest wounds are part of a divine curriculum. That we are not random bodies seeking purpose, but purpose wrapped in a body, remembering itself. Final words. This journey isn't about religion. It's about remembrance. It's about honoring the sacred truth Jung left behind, that death is not the end. It's the mirror that shows us who we've been, and who we're becoming. So the next time you feel lost, remember, it's just part of the return. You are not broken. You are becoming whole. One step, one breath, one awakening at a time. If this message touched something deep inside you, don't keep it to yourself. Subscribe. Share. And most of all, stay close to your own soul. Because somewhere inside, you've always known. And now, I invite you to pause, and breathe. Not with your lungs, but with your soul. Carl Jung once said, you are not a body seeking meaning. You are meaning itself, wrapped in temporary form. You are not a mistake. Your life is not random. And your pain, it's not a punishment. In his journey between life and death, Jung saw something most of us only sense in silence: every soul chooses its life for a reason. No one is forced to live. Every life is selected, deeply, intentionally, and with love. Even the darkest chapters, loss, betrayal, confusion, are not accidents. They are invitations to remember who you truly are. And who are you? You are light. You are presence. You are essence beyond form, unchangeable, untouchable. Jung said, the soul is never truly lost. No matter how far it strays, the light always finds its way home. Maybe you felt lost. Maybe you've forgotten who you are. But if you've stayed with this message to the end, then maybe, just maybe, this is your sign. You're already on your way home. There's no rush. No perfection needed. only presence. And if this message touched something deep inside you, hold on to it. Let it settle. Or share it with someone who's quietly searching for their own light. Because sometimes, what brings us back to life, isn't a loud revelation, but a soft reminder. You were never forgotten.